the class. Oh, little countdown messages on the screen.
What?
Because it has the comments live from multiple sources.
Ah.
There we go. I'll just wait for people to join in.
Yes. Or water. It's kind of cold.
What?
Kind of cold out here.
It's not cold out here. Still around 49 degrees.
Well, it's up to 49 degrees.
Yeah, it is up to 49 degrees now. Mind you, I have to say that water, maybe it's because my hands have been more out in the air. And so as you get that water, it's not just warm, it's hot.
Well, it is hot, but it's better than being ice cold. Don't want refrigerated water.
No, refrigerated water is not so nice. Oh, yes, and I won't leave this tab over here as well. There we go.
Supposed to
We've got 5 people watching. Oh, hello.
Good morning.
Good morning, people. Or afternoon, depending on where you're watching from. Good day.
Good
It is
day.
now dawn here.
Yeah.
It's no longer false dawn. It's actually dawn. It's just hard to see through the clouds.
Yeah.
So I'm Sarah. That's Elspeth.
Elspeth.
Yes, and she's just, throwing, completely not watching what she's doing.
And if there's people who want to see anything particular thrown, they have questions.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm just going to drag you nuts because I'm off. Somebody said, Magdalena, and good morning.
Good morning.
So we've got the good mornings going. Yes, I've got in the corner of the screen here.
And somebody else definitely morning here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's kind of early.
It's like, yes, our class schedule is for 4:30 p.m.
Central
European time. Glad that they put it late enough in the day there that it was
Not
late
in the
enough
middle
in
of
the
the
morning.
So it wasn't the middle of the night.
We've got people from yes, we have to have Diana Walkers. Yes, definitely morning here.
Yes.
So, yeah. We do have the stream up so that people from either from Facebook or YouTube, or if you're even watching
Twitch.
it over on Twitch, all the comments will come up on the screen there. So yes, pottery definitely varies, but it also is one of those items that travels a lot.
Yeah. As you can watch, especially in the Mediterranean, you watch how the styles and the designs, they migrated.
Yes, because you have the classic Greek, you have the earlier stuff which you can see the black figure, and then you go over. What would you recommend for a basic feast-gear set, a generic starter? Generic starter stuff.
Depends on what
If
is
you're
it that you like. Is there a specific color?
Yeah, because if you're going something for that's more sort of central period, so say
Central European,
it will a good
British, which is all kind of the
British.
generic
You're going to be
green.
looking at the simple green stuff.
But if you like things with patterns, you could go with more of the yes.
If you're looking for what's it now? Like I'm going to bring
Or you could do
yes.
Viking.
Yeah.
That would be a good starter set.
Yeah, because you have the simple green glazeware that is very generically Western European.
Western European.
From about 1200s onwards until about 1500, 1600, when you actually start getting Delftware.
Or you could go with more of the
Viking
hold it up
era
closer to
stuff. Yes. Well, part of it is lag. Where's my cursor? There it is. There.
Yeah.
So Here
That's
we're
a
actually
good-
using a black clay.
It
Yeah,
mimics
it says Viking is good. Mind you, it mimics the more of the
the coal fire.
coal-fired or wood-fired, the stuff that is heavily reduced. Also the darker clay bodies that were available in some
Yeah,
areas.
some of them did have the dark.
Yeah, all the time we spent watching Time Team, where we freeze is like, no, go over the pottery some more.
Oh yeah, the one with the.
I recently rewatched the one where they were working on Samian. Still want to try that. But yes, the thing with the Viking is their pottery did not come from
Came from
Scandinavia.
Ireland,
It came from Ireland,
Northern Ireland.
or they raided it from elsewhere. Because concurrent with that black stuff, you also had items like that.
That are Middle Eastern.
Middle Eastern, yeah, but they got there.
Yeah.
Whatever they got, they brought back. Especially things with bright, shiny colors. As soon as you hit the 1400s, 1400s, you start getting a lot in the way of choice. You go over there. Because, yes, as soon as you hit that, this is Italian. Versus, same period, you had, same time period, the English stuff. Once you start moving into the 1400s, you start getting really elaborate stuff. Because the decoration technology came across the Mediterranean, so now it went from Middle East to Spain, from Spain to Italy, and from Italy to the Netherlands, and from the Netherlands up to just at the end of the period, it hopped across into England.
Yeah, because they imported the potters.
How the technology got from Italy to the Netherlands is they went, you know what? Pottery ships, it breaks. Potters don't break as readily. We'll move them.
Potters.
16th century French or Spanish. Okay. French or Spanish, in which case you're probably going to be looking at things, if you're wanting the native French stuff at that point, you're getting some whitewashed wares that have green and black designs.
Yeah.
You're also getting a lot of just straight up green glazed wares still.
Or you have the import.
Yeah. And that is more the Spanish. This one is 1400s. The
Spanish had fewer colors. They had a
fewer
limited
colors.
color palette.
Open up some of the later Spanish. You're looking at pieces that are more like this. Lots of browns and yellows and blues and lots of titchy little details.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times what affected the local color production for pottery would be the available minerals to make colorants out of. Like this, the brown colors were probably antimony.
That thing is useless anymore.
Yeah, just disconnect that. Is the
So I could read the comments over here. Across the room. It's an old cell phone.
yeah, it's an old cell phone that we were using as a nearby reading device. Italian plates with plain glazes, both shapes and colors. You don't see a lot of plain glazed wares in Italy.
No, that was a lot of it was painted.
Yeah.
I
Because
can't think of any at all that are
no, I
plain
can't think
glaze.
of a single example of Italian stuff.
I'm
that
sure
is a
there
simple
must have-
glaze.
Sure, there must have
Some
been.
of the Tuscan stuff
That was
is
the
a little
simpler.
more simple. The piece is more like this. Somebody else is working on ottoman. Yeah,
Ottoman is.
if you're going with Italian, there's some pieces that are very subtle. They're like white on white patterns or blue on blue patterns. But they're
Yeah,
pretty
which are
as
really
close as you're
cool.
going to get
They're settled colors.
in ottoman. You go ottoman, you have so much in the way of choice.
Yeah.
Because this one's 15 might not know who you were. Common green glazing edge. What's that made of? In period, the
Would have
green
been
glaze
copper.
color. Yeah, the colorant is copper. It's also a good melter, so they didn't have to heat the kiln that high to get it to melt on things.
Yeah.
Susan has a few of our pieces already. Thank you.
Not only copper, but lead.
Yeah, most early glazes were lead based.
Because lead has a low melting point. There are also other colorants that you wouldn't want to use in present day because they're toxic.
Yeah, you get too much blue colorant, which is most likely
Cobalt.
and it leaches out into your food.
Antimony,
Antimony also not.
which is a
lots of
yellow
unfriendly
one.
things.
It's also quite deadly.
As when it comes to ottoman, this is also just the continuous research. The yes, you can't see my cursor. The bottom image there, see if I zoom in, was the original image that we had of that particular plate,
Yeah.
which had really poor color quality.
It was low res, blurry.
Probably a scan out of a book.
Yeah.
Recently, came across a picture of the same piece, and yeah, I had to check to make sure that it really was the same piece, because sometimes you have really, really similar pieces that weren't actually the same piece, but were
It was
very
the
close
same
copies.
design.
It was the
They
same
would-
design. They made several of the same thing.
Or they had requests to make it again.
But yeah, that's one where we recently got a new higher resolution, better color quality. And yeah, there was actually green in this piece. It looked brown in this image. So yeah, even if you have, photo documentation of a piece, it's still falling better.
Always.
And what she is making on the wheel right now,
It's a replica piece.
It's actually a replica piece, but it's a replica piece of one that is just post period. This one's post period. It's 1660s.
Oh, just post period.
Yeah.
but yeah.
This is Delftworth. So this is the decorated stuff that made it across into England just post period.
Yeah.
But we had a request for some of those, so we've been making some of that. There we go. Oh, image, go away now. Just close that one. Just hanging out in the way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can't think of any examples of simple Italian.
Stuff like that may not have
It
survived.
could
I'm
also
sure
be
there
that it
must
didn't
have been
survive.
some of that stuff, but
It wasn't
it would have been
safe.
everyday wear that would have been just used and discarded.
Yeah.
Like a lot of cook pots.
What I can do, yes, those are our comparison images, but we also have the straight up source folder. Italian. There we are. For earthenware, what is your favorite glaze recipe to replace lead glaze?
Oh.
This really goes into the realm of our food safety discussion.
Yeah.
We
You do.
don't use
You do not.
earthenware fired.
Earthenware fired is like the clay pots you buy from the hardware store. The water will absorb, transfer right through. They are not, they're still porous, in which case bacteria will get into them and, well, make you sick.
They can harbor bacteria within the clay body themselves, which wasn't a consideration for people in period.
Because the clay pots, they would use them half a dozen times and toss them out
Yeah,
because they
cooking
were
pots.
not cleanable.
Yeah, those unglazed ceramic cooking pots that you see, they weren't
They're
used much.
disposable.
They were kind of like the aluminum foil pans of today.
Yeah, and the glazes,
Yeah.
you can't guarantee their food safe unless you have them tested, and you have to have
Yeah.
each batch tested. I used to make glazes when I was in college, but we moved from one area to another. Only was about 300 miles, but we moved from a fairly urban area with municipal water. We moved to an area that was It was old logging country. And I used, it was the same glaze that I had been making for years. Beautiful green glaze. I made it there. The water there had 90% of the allowable copper by law. And it turned my beautiful apple green glaze to acid matte
metallic, which
copper.
is not food safe.
Too much copper is also not food safe.
Yes.
As it's a heavy metal. Which I've always found interesting that you have copper bowls, but you don't store things in those.
Store things in.
It's a chemical reaction. It's the chemical reaction between the eggs and the copper that gets into, well,
long story short,
chemistry.
We fire everything more to the stoneware category because stoneware, earthenware, porcelaneous, those are all categories of how much water.
Not a variety of clay.
Yes. You can take any clay and fire it to an earthenware consistency.
It means it's going through quartz inversion.
It'll no longer slag into clay body again when you get it wet.
But it will slowly break down.
It absorbs more than 15%?
More than
17.
17 to 20%.
17 to 20% of its weight by water. So if you take a sample of the clay, weigh it while it's dry, and then weigh it again after you boil it.
For an hour.
For an hour. That's how much water it absorbs.
Bad.
Earthenware that's 17 to 20 plus. Earthenware, it's between. Stoneware, it's what, 11 to 5%.
It's 5 to 14%.
5 to 14%.
That is earthenware.
And under that.
And under that,
your porcelaneous clays.
Yes.
Yes, that piece did not want to stick, so she had to get a dry mat.
Sometimes.
She throws on bats because it enables her to take them off more quickly. But when it comes to glazes, we go with all commercially made mixed glazes because then the glaze company does the testing that's required.
And they have a lot more to lose.
Yeah. Because not only is it an issue for the end user using the piece and coming in contact with their beverages, their skin touching the glaze, it's also us. Because when
we come in contact with it.
There's times where I come in from doing glazing and I have to look like a Dalmatian because of all the glaze stuff.
Or with all the painting that I do.
Yeah.
It's on my hands.
Or the times where you inevitably get some of your underglazes into your teeth.
Yeah, it gets onto the cup, it'll get onto pans, gets on the
face, gets on the cat.
Silly cat.
Yes,
That's another story.
But yes, the modern glazes is you get the clear glaze that is meant to fit.
Because if your glaze doesn't have a good fit to the clay, if it's shrinking at a different rate than the glaze will crackle. And the crackle will mean that there are
microscopic splits in the glaze and stuff.
And bacteria can get into it.
Because this is.
And the only way to get rid of that then is to boil your piece.
This one is early 1500s Italian. It's one of the simpler colorations. Probably some of the simplest stuff in terms of later period Italian would actually be some of the Venetian stuff.
Yeah.
And
you have like
pottery made in Venice.
It was all imported.
All the ingredients were imported.
Yeah.
They had no clay. They had no colorants, no lines for anything. But they put an embargo on finished pottery being brought in, being imported into the city. So instead they imported all the raw ingredients. Shipping clay has never been cheap. Never.
Yeah.
It's heavy. Like the origin of where, potholes come from.
Yes.
Do you have any examples of Basque pottery? So Basque is a region in Spain, as I recall.
Yeah. We have done them, but a couple of times.
Yeah, there isn't a whole lot of variants that we've found so far in Spanish. You have the Spanish stuff, which is green and black on white. Then you have the stuff that was blue and brown on white.
And it's the subject matter that
Yes.
changes, as I recall.
Yeah. The imagery would change from region to region. Source pottery. Because yes, I have them divided somewhat by culture, but mostly by region, because pottery is highly regional. Because yes, pottery here was highly influenced by the stuff that's coming across from the Middle East. So now, there's an example of this one's slightly more brown, but it's the green black white combo as compared to the very next one, which yes. And frequently those ones were very simple block textures. But as you zoom in, they have all this fine line that was probably sgraffito carved through the brown to create all those teeny tiny lines.
Yeah.
Which we can achieve with the techniques that we have.
Yeah.
It's just very hard on the hands because you're having to go through with a sharp tool and make these tiny little lines. And if you mess up, you're done. That's just going to be in.
No, I've figured out how to fix that. Because all you have to do is
rewash the area to
yes,
get rid of any brush strokes.
yeah, but you can't. You can do
I
that.
wasn't sure if the mountains of a region change the availability of glazes. The glaze components may have actually come from said mountains.
Yeah. Because if they were popular and it was the potters could afford it, they would import them.
Yeah.
But yes, a lot of times with what would change most is the clay.
Yeah.
Clay is very
Clay
regional.
underneath the white coat.
So the most sought after color of clay was white.
Yes.
True white clay is very rare.
White piece?
What they would do to make it look like white clay, they whitewash it.
Yeah, they whitewash it. The recipe that they use for the whitewashing layer.
That one's Florence.
What?
That's a Florence.
Yes, this piece is Florentine, but it was one of the pieces that.
Yes.
This is made out of a stoneware clay. It's just buff. It's a
Yeah.
very generic colored clay.
Because well,
without whitewashing, it's more that hand tone.
Ibex.
Yes. That one's 1200s.
Yeah. That one's a bit earlier.
But yeah, they started with the whitewashing because they were trying to
Mimic
the potters in the Middle East were trying to mimic the imported porcelains, but they didn't have any white clay.
Yeah. Because the color comes from the impurities.
The other solution that they had to that was actually one from the Iznik region. So this is
Turkey.
Turkey, another Ottoman piece, where this is what they managed with that. It was not
What
actually
they had was a stone paste. It wasn't a true clay.
in which case they formulated it from scratch from things like ground glass and silica.
A very, very fine texture clay, very smooth.
But it wouldn't do big curves.
And so you'd have a lot of straight pieces. And you'd have the flat handles.
Yes, that handle is cut out of the like slab.
Yeah.
But that was the reason for the shape. And that's part of what you see in terms of shape variation from region to region. It frequently wasn't so much. It wasn't so much style. It's what the clay would do.
Well, and then they would adapt to what their regional clay would do. You get that modernly too, which is
Some clays don't do certain things.
no, you can't get the same clay everywhere.
No, you can't. Another thing they did was remake objects that were made in some other
The original
material.
that one was done in leather.
Yeah, the original of this was leather. It was also fairly common for them to remake things that were made out
Metal.
of metal, yeah, either silver, gold, or bronze. They make metal vessels out of
Clay
cheap
was common.
replicas out of clay, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yes. One of the shapes, which is the shape is actually supposed to be a water bottle, but it's something that the experimental archaeology is what the heck this knob part on here was. Was it a style thing? Turns out it's a handle that doesn't stick out because your hand stops on that.
Yeah. That's pretty interesting.
It's like discovering the usages of different Grecian handles. Greeks were so highly variable. The first time we got asked to make a Greek skiphos, we're like, okay, what are those handles for? Pick it over the phone. And it's actually a very comfortable format to hold.
Oh yeah, it's really good for if you have grip issues.
This is gorgeous. Thank you. But yeah, it's really great if you have grip issues. It just fits over the thumb. It was originally we've heard stories about it was a Spartan shaped cup because they were uncouth and drank their wine unwatered. And well, you don't have to have much in the way of the manual dexterity to hold on to such a cup.
If you're too drunk to hold that,
You're too drunk.
this is what I was told by someone who was a
Studied
Greek person.
that culture.
Yeah,
Oh,
was the same person who'd originally asked us to make art pieces.
yes. And there's some of the more elaborate sculptural pieces, which is it's an animal-headed, basically drinking horn. Because the Greeks used the shape a lot, but it did actually predate them.
And
So-
also, later they were called stirrup cups.
Yeah, because they were handed up to people who were on hunts on their horses.
Because you could just
look, you
hang it
can't
on your.
set it down. You could even balance him on his nose.
Some of them do balance up.
Yes, some of them.
Depending on the animal and the pose.
Yes. And there's some that are highly sculptural and they're like sea monsters fighting people.
Yeah.
Or one that's Dionysus holding a very, very large horn, which is the cup itself.
Yeah.
And then you have the rude ones, because, well, Greek.
Yes. You're asked to do one of the rude ones recently. And that was the only
It's the only one we've ever had taken
Yeah,
down
by
off of
YouTube.
social media.
it was off of YouTube.
Yep.
YouTube said it was against community guidelines.
They have pretty good, shape recognition is what that says. And because it only appeared in the background as we were unloading a kiln.
Yeah. But yeah, the Greeks put everything. We haven't done the more reports.
Not too much.
No.
Done the cookie scamp.
The oil
Done
lamp.
the oil lamp.
Did that one right.
Did the yes.
It peed, okay?
Yes. It was a thing. And the rude pottery did not stop with the Greeks and the Romans either. Because there
No.
was also the Italian joke platter.
Oh, yeah.
Or it was like, portrait of a lady's
Facebook
face.
didn't take that one down.
No, it didn't.
Facebook hasn't taken any of our stuff.
No.
Because it's art. But I digress.
I guess the I have a copy of this folder on the desktop. There we are. There, it'll load faster from here. No, I don't have any examples of the moment. Or there's that horse pattern.
That
Or the
one.
script pieces.
Script pieces are fun to
We
do.
were very careful to, when it comes to recreating ourselves, to never choose a script piece that does not have a translation. because much like a lot of period potters, a lot of the lettered pieces we make, we don't understand the language of.
It's all just
It's
they're characters.
they're shapes.
They're shapes.
There's some of the pieces from that region that they look like letters, but people who are actually know the language go, yeah, those are letter shapes. It's gibberish. Get these things grouped together more on the shelf. So more space over here. So one of my jobs while she's throwing is to make sure she's supplied with chunks of clay.
It's more efficient that way.
Yes. Actually, yes. What I can do is, okay, the large cam will be moving. Because can do is move across, check out the tools.
Oh yeah, that's just so charming looking.
Well, that's what Potter's tools look like 30 seconds after they start using them.
And
Oh, yes. Here, I'll move it back
I have
over
some
this
that are
way.
actually period cheap tools.
Whoop. Yep, there we go. There. Nasty little hook up there.
yeah.
Okay, and there are examples of tools that look pretty much exactly like that in the 3 books of the Potter's Art, which was written in 1547,
Then you
then
have the
stuck in a
ones-
vault for 400 years. That's the more modern shaped equivalent there.
They had some like this too.
It's the angle iron.
Yeah. They didn't have the little plastic ends on them though.
No.
And yes, I did get them because
Do you have your horn tool over there?
I have my horn tool.
It really, that piece is made out of horn.
There we go.
It's just, well, it's covered in clay, like all Potter's tools.
Yeah.
There. Now it's aimed back at you. Oh, actual hands.
Don't get to see my face.
When you're up in the face cam,
Yeah.
you're the one in the red hat.
Yes. You're the one in the gray hat.
Yes, it's gray with blue trim. I'm like, is it partially gray? Look at
I
me.
got the red one, you got the gray one.
Yes. Yes. This. Tell it's a slideshow on the screen. Now it'll just
Okay,
pivot through.
And we had some of the, we have stuff that's even a little earlier than the Greek stuff. We have some of the Iron Age.
The Iron Age actually comes later.
Well, yeah, it's true, but different periods. Different
Some of
eras.
them could be concurrent because it's later Iron Age. Similar a little later because
Yeah.
we started making the Iron Age stuff courtesy of watching Time Team because they had really pretty shapes.
Because you have the darker
about
clay,
4.
because it was of how it was fired.
And yes, yes, thank you for this. Logging off now. Have a lovely day. You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.
But yes, again with our thing with food safety, it has glaze on the mouth touching surfaces.
And it's glazed on the inside.
And fully glazed on the interior. Not enough light to read. Oh, there we go. I got the light reflecting off of the screen. And there, yeah. That works well, having it just do the slideshow there. How did you do that peacock piece? That was nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, some of them are also, it's easy to adapt.
Because a lot of the Italian cups were based off of designs from Italian medicine jars.
Yes. That's also the reason for the, yes, there's this guy. Because the medicine jars tend to have this concave side because it made it easier to grip off the shelf. But basically, truncated it would have had a little bit of a lip to put either a waxed linen or lid on. But well, not many lids survive.
No, there are a few.
There are a
There are
few.
many.
Fingers are cold.
Yeah, because there's a picture of one. There
Yep,
was
that's
the
a medicine
original.
jar. And there again, there's like, as you can see, there's a whole bunch of different pieces, all roughly the same design
Yeah,
from similar period, not even from the same city-state,
yeah.
because the individual Italian potters frequently move from city to city, taking
Or they
their,
go, oh, pieces would.
oh, those pieces are nice, let's make a copy of those. Thus
Oh, that's a
designs
nice
travel.
motif. I think I'll do my own version of
Yeah.
said piece.
Drives scholars nuts because they're like, okay, that looks like the piece that we know is from this city, but it's not actually from this city. We have provenance that says it's from that city over there. So they have a hard time defining styles with regions
Yeah.
because there were some cities that had very distinctive styles. It's like when people have the personas that are from a particular Italian city-state. It's just, oh, here, let me open up that folder.
Yeah.
It's this kind.
But you know, if you have a more European persona, depending on the time period and stuff, it's kind of like they did import stuff.
Yeah.
So what country and what time period, and you could get things.
In the inventory of Henry VIII, there were pieces of Middle Eastern pottery that, because they go out from their home region, packed full. They were just shipping crates. They'd be full of things like oil or dried fruit. But by the time they arrived at their destination, the pottery was more valuable than the fruit. And they'd embellish the basically saved cardboard boxes of the age with gold and silver and gems, and they just decorate them, add feet, add lids, add handles. And what it was a packing crate. We have 6, so yeah, we'll need 1 more minimum.
Yeah. I could do a couple of
Extras. Oh, itchy nose. Oh. And as anyone who has a messy art form, the fine art of not spanking your nose with your hands when you've got clay all over it. You don't want to breathe clay dust.
in period they didn't have electric wheels.
No.
I do have a kick wheel, but I also have a bad knee.
Yes.
So I don't use kick wheel anymore.
And if you didn't have a bad knee already, throwing with a kick wheel will eventually give you one.
Yeah.
And like that, the remains of that Minoan potter.
Oh, yeah.
Mind you, the article kept saying how they were a master potter, and I'm like, what says that she was any good? But yeah, all
Chances are
cartilage,
should have that much wear and tear.
she did it for a living. All cartilage was gone from her knees, the ends of the bones were polished, smooth. And they went, well, what caused this weird extra muscular development down one side of her back?
I don't know.
Yeah, if you look at the way she's crouching over the wheel.
You go like this, and you're going to build up muscle on
Yes.
one
You will
side.
develop uneven
Yeah,
muscle
I'm
development.
doing little pieces, but yeah, when I'm doing large pieces, I will be
Bracing.
bracing because I brace like this. It's not just your hands and arms.
Yes. If I shift it this way, you can see how she's bracing her arms on her legs. What I can do is so that we can focus on her throwing, I will make that go away for a moment. Here, I'll shift it so that you can see how she's bracing. And this is actually a clay.
Does it matter how cold it is in the shop? I have to have short sleeves.
Yes, you have to have exposed arm. By the way, how's your water?
It's gonna go.
Okay.
Yeah.
I need to a little bit of hot water. Yes, we do have a kettle behind the screen here. It's not for water for consumption. This is water for making sure the hands don't freeze off.
Yeah, cold isn't good.
Last year it did get down to 17 in the shop.
Yeah, and it
17
froze.
Fahrenheit, not C.
Yeah,
It was cold. We actually had ice crystals on some of the pottery that we'd thrown the day before.
that was really interesting. All the
Yeah.
pieces survived.
Yeah.
They left little ghosting marks of little ghosting marks of the ice crystals on
Yeah.
the clay.
We purposely put on a light glaze that would show those off.
Yeah.
And these are some plates that were thrown 2 days ago.
Yeah.
It is winter. Things dry slowly.
Yeah.
So yes, and then once they're dry enough, this one looks like it probably is. Nope, they didn't. They're hot. What's the bat? Where to put them carefully so that you don't snap. Come on, let go. Sometimes they let go nicely. Sometimes
They don't.
they don't. There. This once the piece is off that. How dry is this? And I think I want to use a tool. Where's the tool cup? There you are. But yes, pottery that develops flaws, they're known as wasters. It's how they're referred to in the archaeological record. Most potters refer to them as test tiles or
Pencil cup.
tool
Two
cups.
cups. More generic that way.
Yeah, because I'm like, this one's not a pencil cup. It's full of tools and clay chunks. So yeah, there's little bits of flashing down at the bottom. And it off. Yes, something that is, I guess maker's marks are relatively modern.
Yeah.
Because even with the episode on the Ivy House Works, which is early Wedgwood, they didn't mark that much their pottery.
A lot of it was unmarked.
That's 1700s.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, just watched the episode last night. 1700s?
And but the Greek pottery, it had to do a lot with color. Sometimes they did. They would mark them or sign them in some
They
fashion.
actually had two signatures.
Yeah, one who did the throw, one who did the painting.
There we go. But yes, we do have a maker's mark.
It's our logo.
Let's
You see it on the screen right there. It's
Yep, can't see it on the bottom of the piece, but it is it's that angle it there. That's our maker's mark. Amazingly, in the last 17 years, we've only gone through 3 stamps.
yeah.
I
One
think there was
broke.
a fourth. Yeah, one broke because the original
Cat
version.
lost one. Got a hold and lost it somewhere.
So no, we've had a total of 4 because we have 2 that are in use right now. One's up here in this half of the shop. The other one's downstairs.
There's the that bowl that we recently did, which is also Spanish,
Yes.
which isn't highly colored.
No, it's one of the. This is another Spanish one. It's based off of a shallow bowl. The pattern was on the inside of the dish. But I was able just to transfer wrap to a vertical. Because no common question would get asked is, do we use stencils?
No,
The answer is no.
because
The two things are the same shape. Yeah, these are similar in shape, but very much not the same shape, not the same curvature, not the same height. The technique of lathing pottery to be similar in shape and size didn't come about until the 1700s,
Yeah.
which, well, that was some cool technology to watch. That's how they got things that were quite so similar and yet still thrown. Because thrown items have more strength than cast items.
Or a common way of throwing, if you watch the show Secrets of the Castle, they have the one with the potter who's using a. It's
I think it's referred to as a barrel wheel or
Yeah.
spoke wheel.
Yes, spoke wheel.
Cage wheel, that's it. Because it's got a whole bunch of vertical spokes.
You stand there, you do it with your hand.
You spin it with your hand and throw.
It's
or
not a
if he
cake
had-
wheel at all.
Or if he had an apprentice, they'd be standing there with a stick and catching the spokes with the stick and spinning.
Yeah.
Or you had the ones that were basically built with giant flywheels, whether they be basically old millstones or wagon wheels. The depictions of the ones that would look like wagon wheels, those just look terrifying.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't an uncommon injury to damage your feet
Or lose a foot.
or lose a foot because it get caught between the spokes and ripped off. Pottery is kind of a dangerous profession, particularly period.
Yeah.
I mean, what if your kiln collapses? One of the various reasons why potters were always out on the edge of town. They were dealing with lots and lots of fire.
Yeah.
If their kiln ran away with them, they burned down the town. No, you're not
I love
gonna
the
live
quote out of the 3 books of the Potter's Art.
there. Oh yes. No, it wasn't 3 books of the Potter's Art. It was Art of Fire, which is
Yes.
Islamic glass and
Yes.
pottery. Is though potter's art is a dirty and a noble one, it makes life more civilized for others.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, it is not clean. It is not pretty, except for that moment when you're unloading the final glaze firing. Then it's, oh, look at the pretty things as they come out.
Yeah, you don't want to be living in your shop. It's gonna be all covered in clay dust, getting hair. Yeah.
And in period, it'd be all what it was they're burning to be coal or wood or peat or or dung, anything that they
Anything
could
that
get to
burn.
burn. Because a wood fire that's like a 24-hour process.
At least,
Oh, that's not.
depending on your fuel source, how hot it burns.
Yeah.
Well, total of 4 out of the 7 plates you threw the other day came off their bats.
Other ones will come off.
Yeah, eventually. Magic, touching those are not fun right now. No, they're not. Oh, here, let me get this for you. Here we go. More hot water.
More hot water.
I heard the kettle click off.
Anybody have any more questions or?
What I can do is I can check to see if there's anyone still on stream. And if not, we'll probably just cut it, you know. About 45 minutes in. So if there's no one else out there, we'll probably end it here. Oh, more Italian, yes.
More Italian. Okay.
And that one there, that's one of the early Italian.
You want to get that
Yes. I
going
will
back up?
pop this back up. Maybe this one will make this. Come here. Okay, no, I said go build a plate here. There.
Chamber pot.
Out.
There we go.
Play fun early Italian stuff. There we go. Before the Italians had colors, They have
Just
the
black and white.
black and white,
Sometimes
they added-
brown and white,
mostly black and white.
but mostly, yeah.
And then it was black, green, and white.
Yeah.
That one is a single color one. Find my other folder. Will this be available to watch later? Yes,
Oh
it
yes.
will. All of the videos that we do, they're all saved up on our YouTube channel, so you can go back and watch them. Because this is the second time we've run this class.
Yeah. And we'll be running it again
Um,
for another group.
Sunday the 6th, our time, 11:30 a.m.
Yeah.
which is
I don't
Pacific
remember the
Standard.
name of the.
At North Shield.
Yeah. No, the name of the.
Oh, what a beautiful event!
Yeah.
It's all that event is based. It's all things that beautify life, including spices and
Yeah.
adornments. And,
Or you could just go through the pieces that are sitting.
what about Germany's?
Ah.
The German stuff tends to be a lot more sculptural. Let's see, to the right folder here. German. Yes, because you have from the earlier stuff, which if you look at that, you can definitely. I suppose the German stuff is heavily influenced by the Romanian wear. If you
Yeah.
think about it,
Yeah, it is.
because it has the low relief sculptural elements. And there you can actually see the edges of the little stamped areas because it's the black image. Makes it easier to see. And oh yes, this one. There were some colorful pieces. This one's 1550. This is a later piece. But yes, this one has a whole little town built on it.
Yeah. Some of them are just very
Yeah, there's a
elaborate.
better image of it. You have little doors. It's a little three-dimensional scene built.
And there's some that have all the little animals on them.
And there's like, I think there are two guys. I can't tell what sort of polearm they're fighting with. But yeah, these colors are applied with glaze versus an underglaze. An underglaze is color without melter.
Yeah.
Glazes have enough melter that they go
And then
shiny.
what you do is you put the glaze over the
Yeah.
color, which is something that they also did.
Oh goodness, that's
In
this
Italy,
scene in
the
the
Italian
middle is actually a diorama as well.
Ah.
But then you had some of this is just source materials. Here's some more good ones. So yeah, it's more sculptural, tends towards low relief, tends towards plain colored glazes,
They're generally heavier pieces.
heavier pieces, yeah. What did this say about how Germans treat their pottery? They
Yeah.
tend to. Us also, they had a lot more stoneware in the region. That sounds great. Cool. It's one of the real benefits.
We
to
can put
these
a
online
link to
events.
it in the comments after the stream, so people
So
who
people
want.
can get to that event.
Yeah,
Because I think that's another one that's going to have a lot of classes.
yeah. Okay, sure, we'll do that. That's fun.
This one's got pretty low relief rose here. This is probably a tile, but it bevels inwards.
Huh, it could just be a dish
Could
too.
be a dish. Let's see. 19 centimeters. It could either be a tile or a dish.
Yeah. This piece had a bubble in it.
But yeah, there's yet another one. That one has that almost clamshell looking foot to it.
Yeah.
The German pottery made more use of the salt glazes,
Yeah.
which not environmentally friendly at all to do these
Oh.
days.
That is another thing. Salt glaze.
Oh, yes, salt.
Salt glaze, people will still do it. A lot of cities have outlawed it because
Yes.
it's bad for the environment
And the humans.
and humans. But
Oh,
what you do for salt firing is you open up the kiln when things are red hot and you throw salt on it, which vaporizes the salt. The vaporized
Sodium.
salt is sodium.
no, the sodium sticks to the glaze.
And
The chlorine is released as a gas.
it releases cubic yards of chlorine gas.
Yes. Not fun.
And it's
Just
not
nope.
food safe.
No, because you're altering the glaze chemistry. So if the glaze is fine before the addition of sodium, it very likely isn't afterwards.
Yeah. So it's, yes, it's period. No.
We're not doing it. We like our lungs.
We like our lungs. We like the lungs of the people who live around us because it will drift.
They're,
Cubic yards.
yeah, it's yeah. you can
That's
kill
just
people that way.
Bad. But yeah. Then there's the wood fire, the ash.
Yeah.
The wood ash.
I kind of wonder
you
if
add to a
early.
glaze.
I kind of wonder if early salt firing was trying to reproduce an accidental thing because potters will burn anything.
Yeah, they will.
If they were using dried seaweed, which contains salt, that may have created an interesting effect on the glaze that they were then trying to recreate by chucking salt in it. Not to
Yeah.
mention conspicuous consumption. I mean, you're literally throwing salt into a kiln.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, it also eats the fire brick of the kiln.
It's bad for the kiln, it's bad for the person.
Okay, so 7, 8, 9. These ones need to be regular mugs.
Yes, I know. I remembered.
Okay.
It's kind of amazing, I know.
Well, sometimes we get distracted and then, we start making things at random.
Yeah.
Like the one time we were answering questions and we were trying to throw plates,
And
but
that
you kept
coming
getting
up with
distracted and defaulting to big mugs.
big things.
And it got to be great sport for the people watching to go, plate, plate!
Yeah.
And people got to watch you adjust a cup into a plate. Because everything is based off the cylinder. It's just the width of said cylinder.
But that's not today's.
That's not today's stream. There's plenty of those that go into that.
Yeah.
That's-
But with the Italian pottery, well, the low end stuff, well, it was still whitewashed with tin glaze, which is yet another metal. Too much of that isn't good for you. But they put that on there to mimic the white, and then they would just paint the colors over it.
yes.
Without having the clear glaze over it, because it
would
was
be
cheaper.
more matte.
It'd be more matte.
Because the high end
But-
Italian stuff was basically 3 layers.
Yeah, it's basically the colorings that they painted with were the period equivalent of modern underglaze because they
Yeah.
weren't all just oxides.
There's another German piece. That one was decorated with slips.
Yeah,
Not going to be a good surface to eat off of because it's going to be really.
yeah. Slip is a colored clay.
So that was a red clay piece with white slip on it and a little bit of green glaze to color her skirt.
Yeah.
And yes, and it was made for export. It's
Yeah.
just reading because yes, I'll put the documentation for a piece in the file name. That way it sorts by age and such like. There are some 6th century out of the German area.
The Germanies.
Yes. Check out the lobes on that cup.
Yeah.
And there's one of the stamped ware pieces in the background. Did Italians import from anywhere? 16th century. Who did?
Spain
They-
and
No,
Turkey and
Yeah.
Middle East.
it was largely around the Mediterranean.
Yeah.
They didn't import pottery from, say, England or places where it had very simple stuff because they were like, there's plenty of clay here.
Yeah.
They exported far more than they imported, but the Italians imported from various
They
other
didn't
Italies.
really import that much from the Far East, though.
No.
Either. They tried to make the road. I'm
Yes.
sure there was some.
Yeah, there had to have been simple wares out there. See, where's my Italian folder? There we are. See now. The Orvieto is one of the first areas that got into the decorated pottery. And yeah, this is the earlier stuff. Again, they were highly invested in pattern.
Yeah. I think a lot of it, well, if you look
Germany import to Italy, I'm sure that you may have had pieces that traveled with people, but I don't think it was
it wasn't common.
it wasn't common. There isn't much foreign pottery found in Italian deposits.
Yeah.
So I've discovered at least.
Yeah.
You have huge quantities of really decorated stuff. Because materials were cheap. And labor was
Well, if
cheap.
you really look at a map where these different cities are located, the different pottery producing regions over 2 millennia
Yeah.
were located, you can follow the path that the designs
Some
went
of the
and their changes.
some of the simpler Italian stuff would be the Venetian blue and white, which right there you can really see the influences of some of the
Later Delftware.
well, you can see it definitely influenced Delftware, but that style of painting came from the Far East.
Yeah.
With just blue on white.
Right.
Very
Yes.
sketchy. Very reminiscent of, things like the sketchbooks of Leonardo da Vinci. It's that
Who is
style
from
of art.
where?
Yes. Well, those pieces that may interest the more musically inclined. Yes, there are multiple Italian pieces that have little snippets of music depicted on them.
Yeah.
I don't know enough to say whether or not they depict actual or whether it's just the equivalent of the gibberish writing.
Yeah. Could be.
I was trying to see
Oh,
if I could
that
find
one's good.
any of the. Here's one that's the color on color, all blue. Like the butt music, yes. The musical notes that come out from the
Yes.
the butt trumpets, which we've had to we've put that jewelry on things.
Yeah.
Gavio. So I have these ones separated by city state. Because there's differences in color palette.
Yeah.
Because this one's lots more the reds, oranges, and browns. Very little in the way of blue and green in these. But if you go to Danza and Deruta are relatively close to one another, which explains a lot of similarities in styles and color palette. Because here you'll notice a lot more in the way of blue.
Blues and oranges.
Blues and oranges. And the fact that they layered the yellow and the blue a lot.
Yeah.
Which is an effect you cannot achieve by using green.
No. Because if you put the yellow over blue, you get blue and yellow.
Yes.
Because there was
Like
one
on
piece.
this fellow's cloak, but yeah. Let's see if I can't find. I think that piece is Deruta piece.
I think so.
Oh, but yeah, here's another piece. Later period. This one is the outside of the dish, where it's just all shades of a single color. Frequently, the pieces would be decorated inside and outside, which is something that they picked up from Spanish tradition, where you have a simple broad pattern on the outside and intricate detail on the inside. Because that's the outside of this, and there's the inside. The Daruta. And I wish it would just stay on the large icons. Watch for wait for most of my turn. So yes, see this one. And it's a style that they started with early and didn't really stop utilizing, which is the straight up using just yellow and blue.
The blue was the base color of your design, like if you're drawing in pencil.
And sometimes they'd leave little notes to the other decorators in the blue, and they screw up. Like there's the one piece where it's a blue and yellow design, and the person doing the blue line work was not the same person who came back and filled in the colors, because there's a spot where it says Azuro. Whoever put in the blue in that area used a watery blue instead of an opaque blue, in which case the color note remained on the piece, visible. And there's other pieces where it's like you're drawing along, you're looking at the piece, you hadn't noticed it before, but suddenly you notice that they forgot to paint somebody's hand, or left off a flower, or a leaf,
Or chunk of design is
or a chunk
colored
of design is not colored. And occasionally we do this by accident,
Yeah.
but we look at the period pieces and go,
Yeah, that's not so bad. It's period. It's period to make mistakes.
It's like, yeah, people do make
But if
that
you
kind
get-
of mistake. And
You get interrupted.
cat runs across what you're doing.
Phone rings. Someone asks you a question.
Yes. They really love their blue and yellow. And that yellow is not a particularly easy color to,
Because that
replicate.
yellow is antimony.
yeah. It's
And there's no way of replicating that one.
no,
Not that
not
exact color.
precisely. Because also
Not using it.
no.
Nope.
Also the firing environment would change the
Yeah.
colors.
But all the ones that were antimony are all pretty much a certain.
Shade. Also, we fire at a different temperature, so it's not going to come out the same color. Well, I have to say, we don't do it that often, but this has to be one of my favorite kinds of styles. Is the grotesque style.
Oh, yeah.
And getting the shading done in that kind of
I've
bronze
always
color.
really liked doing shading on
And those ones
anything.
are all shaded.
Yeah.
I have to go and prep for a feast now. Thank you very much. I learned a bunch of new things, but thank you for
Bye-bye.
hanging out. And at this point, well, it is also, it's been our hour, so we should probably
We
sign off.
We should sign off.
Um,
Bye-bye.